Reducing loss and damage claim expense has always been a priority for the network. In the past, our focus has been on losses during local and long-distance moves. However, we have to take just as much care when we're warehousing customers' household goods. Claims reduction in our warehouse operations can be a major savings. Allied spends a considerable amount annually to settle claims caused by warehousing. In this video, we're going to cover what needs to be done to reduce claim expense and improve customer satisfaction through professional warehouse procedures. First impressions are hard to change. If a warehouse has vaults poorly stacked and floors littered with fast food sacks or lunch bags lying around, it doesn't inspire much confidence that a customer's goods will be well cared for, and it'll take a lot of talking to convince them otherwise. Also, it's a good idea to keep the doors on empty vaults, as it not only makes a better appearance, but adds stability as well. If the first thing they see is a clean, organized, uncluttered warehouse, both inside and out, you can avoid the problem altogether. Making a good first impression starts outside by having lift vans stored orderly and, if possible, out of sight. Trash containers should have refuse in them, not around them, and they should always be closed. There are various methods of organizing and keeping track of storage vaults in warehouses that have proven to be effective in improving efficiency, profitability, and the security of our customers' belongings. How is your facility organized? This model maintains a permanent place for vaults by aisle and row. A section of the floor is marked with the letter of the alphabet, and the vaults that are stored in that section are labeled with that letter. For example, this diagrammed top view provides an overall picture of how the warehouse floor would look if the aisles and rows were marked. Each row within every section is assigned a number. To illustrate this, we've highlighted row 01. Each vault is then assigned its own number. In the example, this is vault number 3. It doesn't matter where in that row the vault is, as long as it always goes back into the same row that it came from. If you're currently using another method but are thinking about restructuring your warehouse, you might want to consider this example. The corresponding aisle letters and row number are transferred to the control card or shipment location card as shipments are received and vaulted. When you're expecting an incoming shipment, move any vehicles from the driveway so the dock is accessible to the driver. Clear the unloading area so you'll have sufficient space to place the shipment. Have the dock organized and stocked with the necessary equipment and materials so you can quickly handle the household goods. Line up the vaults you'll need before the shipment arrives so you don't have to maneuver the vaults around a customer's goods. Have a few used mattress cartons available to spread on the floor so furniture can be set on them to prevent damage. Drivers delivering shipments should always be greeted cheerfully and courteously. Often a driver will arrive when you're particularly busy or otherwise occupied. Don't blame the driver for his timing. You both have a job to do, and arrivals can't be planned around your convenience. Make sure you have the right attitude. Your attitude sets the tone for the job. If you show up with a smile and a "what can I do for you" attitude, the driver delivering a shipment going into storage will respond positively. You owe the drivers and anyone you come in contact with courtesy and respect. Customers pay good money for expertise, and they expect to get what they paid for. Show them and your associates courtesy and respect. Give your best performance every day. Don't allow personal problems to affect the quality of your work. If you had a family problem before you left home, or you burnt your toast at breakfast, don't take it to work. You can only succeed as a team. So forget about having a better-than-thou attitude. Everyone has to work together and help each other. You wouldn't want someone coming into your warehouse and speaking disrespectfully to your co-workers. All it takes to make a good impression is common courtesy. The same respect should be shown for the customer's goods. It should go without saying that we have to have respect for other people and their property. You wouldn't want a stranger denting your furniture, right? Whenever you handle a household item, you become responsible for it. Treat it as if it were your own. Take responsibility for your work and actions. When it's possible, the warehouse manager will pre-arrange unloading times with the driver the day before. The manager needs to coordinate with dispatch or the front office and make sure the driver has the warehouse phone number so he can coordinate his arrival with the warehouse person. When the vehicle arrives, teamwork makes the job a lot easier. While it is the driver's responsibility to unload the van, if needed, the warehouse crew may be called upon to assist. Be sure to check with the drivers to identify any items the customer has requested for early pickup or special handling and set them aside so they are the last things to be put in the vault. As the goods are unloaded, be sure to check the shipment for completeness. Start with checking to make sure you're receiving the right shipment by verifying the first and last name of the customer, the origin and destination, and the color of the inventory tags. Don't rely on the driver's inventory as your only record of delivered goods. Use your exception sheet too. The exception sheet is used in addition to the driver's inventory, not in place of it. Carefully identify the voided items and check the legibility of the writing on the inventory. If there are items you can't read, clear up the confusion with the driver before you start to unload. The inventory sheet should be handled by only one person to avoid confusion and prevent having items unloaded that are not accounted for. When unloading, call out the color of the tag and the number. Ask the driver to repeat the number and read the description of the item so the warehouseman can check it against his copy of the inventory. Items should be placed in an area that you've designated, and the driver needs to place them with the tags facing out. If an item, number, or description doesn't agree, and you can't get an answer why it doesn't, note it on the exception sheet. Set the item aside so you can review the problem later. As items are removed from the truck, stage them by keeping the cartons separate from the furniture. This makes it easier to check if you find discrepancies. Not all damage is obvious, so you need to look for telltale signs, like the condition of cartons. Damaged, crushed, or wet cartons need to have the contents checked, and then the items have to be repacked. Don't repack any carton without informing a supervisor or claims specialist. The contents need to be inspected before you handle them, and the cartons repacked need to be noted on the exception sheet. When you have an exception, talk to the driver about it and ask where he recalls putting the item if it's not with the rest of the load. Let's stop for a moment and talk about the right method to take exceptions when receiving a shipment from a driver. It's important to note the right exceptions, not a lot of exceptions. Take special notice of the most commonly damaged items. These are dressers, desks, tables, overstuffed furniture, televisions, and appliances. You also want to check items such as lawn furniture, garden equipment, and items that are not normally claim items. You'll also want to focus on significant damage, such as broken or torn furniture and missing parts. If you receive items that are disassembled, be sure to account for all the parts. Check for obvious new, fresh damage. Allied claims representatives inspect all damage claims. Old damage will be denied, so it's important that you only record new and fresh damage. It's of no value to copy exceptions already noted on the driver's inventory. Unnecessary exceptions could cause the claim adjuster to doubt the validity of the exception sheet. The exception sheet is similar to the inventory and condition report, with columns for listing the article number, its description, and your exceptions. It also has a remarks column for the driver to make comments if needed. Be sure to use the driver's inventory to check off the articles to ensure that everything in the shipment has been received. As you note exceptions, be sure to call them to the attention of the driver. If the driver takes issue, direct him to the remarks column. It's not necessary to agree, but it is important to cooperate and to get the job done. Be sure to sign and date the exception sheet and to have the driver do likewise. If the driver refuses to sign, remind him that he can make remarks. If he still refuses to sign, note on the exception sheet that the driver refused. The exception sheet is an internal document, and there's no need for it to be given to the customer. This same procedure should be followed when drivers load shipments from your warehouse. However, under these circumstances, they will be completing the exception sheet. If the driver doesn't make an exception sheet, complete one yourself by writing on it, "No exceptions taken by driver," and have him sign it. You may encounter drivers who are using Allied's new inventory form that allows them to record receipt of items, but doesn't provide a means to take exceptions. Following the preceding guidelines will make your job easier by only looking for and recording new and fresh transit-related damage. On the exception sheet, you'll need to include a clear, legible, detailed description of the missing item, along with your notes concerning your conversation with the driver regarding the missing item. When the exception sheet is complete, notify your claims manager to start a trace. As you unload non-tagged items, take the time to catalog them on the exception sheet. Any items without numbers should be kept separate. When you've completed unloading, check the untagged items against the driver's inventory for items that have not been checked off. These untagged items should be marked as "not inventoried by driver" on your exception sheet and tagged with your own inventory sticker. This way, you can account for all the items on the delivery. While it's important to report real damage, don't be overly critical just for the sake of taking exceptions. You'll want to maintain good relations with the driver, so be reasonable. Keep your claim person notified of any loss and damage that you find when unloading the van or damage that happens in the warehouse. The claims person will determine if an item requires repair before delivery. Reporting damage not only provides an opportunity to repair it, it also makes it possible to prevent future damage. By keeping your supervisor posted on problem situations, you can determine what caused the damage and improve your claim prevention practices. Be aware of missing items or separated parts to larger items. For example, certain things like treadmills, bikes, exercise equipment, and other goods that have to be disassembled are the most likely to have missing parts. You should also pay special attention to high-value goods, like stereo and home entertainment equipment that are typically targets of theft. While the truck may appear to be empty, don't start loading the vault until all the inventory discrepancies have been cleared up and all the paperwork is complete. Once a shipment has been unloaded and inventoried, with the exceptions accounted for, you're ready to vault it. This warehouse has a clever way to identify loaded and empty vaults. Each vault is permanently numbered on two sides. Full vaults are tagged with the customer's name and control sheet, and empty vaults are not tagged. This eliminates the need to constantly turn vaults. Vault numbers should be posted on the rear and sides, never the door, as doors can be switched. When the vaults are stacked in their appropriate location, they're placed so the customer name is facing out. With this simple system, a lift truck driver can tell at a glance whether the vault being pulled is full or empty. Select a vault that's in good condition. Make sure the vault is structurally sound. If the vault isn't in good repair, do what's needed to fix it. Check the vault inside and out for protruding nails that could damage furniture or injure someone. Either set the vault aside or fix the problem. Screws and power drivers are best for repairs. Organize the customer's goods before loading the vault. When you're doing this, think of the delivery so you can make it easier for the crew when they're unloading at the customer's home. Group similar items like bedroom furniture, chairs, and cartons, and separate the items that will have to be stored in special areas like overstuffed furniture, rugs, gasoline-powered weed eaters, snow blowers, and lawn mowers. Tag and identify these so they can be stored in a safe location elsewhere in or around the warehouse. Make certain that they are noted on the locator card before storing. And make a photocopy of the card to be filed in the office as a backup copy. This is also a good time, if needed, to re-roll and wrap rugs in craft paper. Remember, when this shipment leaves the warehouse, it will face the same rough terrain as any over-the-road or local move. The vault needs to be packed with the same care as a van. This means only qualified and trained people should load a vault. It should be packed tightly and using the same principles as packing a truck, with a few exceptions. One difference is that vaults need to be more balanced because they'll be handled by lift trucks. Don't have one side significantly heavier than the others. To avoid this, load heavy articles in the center. Wrap the items as if you were putting them on a truck. Cloth pads are highly recommended to prevent damage, and in the long run, they are less expensive. They need to be held in place with stretch wrap. When moving items into the vault, lift and carry them. Don't drag them, because chances are good a leg may break or other damage will occur. Bundled items, like table legs and bed slats, should be padded and held together with stretch wrap. Particle board items should be stretch wrapped to retain their integrity since they're easily chipped or broken. To keep drawers on dressers and cabinets in place, pad and cover them with stretch wrap. Barbecue grills and other items that are typically dirty should be stretch wrapped to keep your pads and workers clean and also keep the item together. Try to anticipate what the customer might want first while packing a vault. If it's fall and you have one wardrobe marked winter clothes and another marked summer clothes, it makes sense to put the winter wardrobe out front since it'll be what's needed first. As you pack the vault, be sure not to overload it by forcing items into a space. Not only can this cause damage, but it can also create booby traps when the vault is unloaded. Don't pack the vault all the way to the top. When a vault is loaded, it weighs about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds, and these typically get stacked 3 high.